The Cleveland Browns are flirting with a football revolution, and it's all riding on one wild ultimatum: give John Harbaugh total control or walk away. No GM interference, no ownership micromanagement, just Harbaugh calling every single shot, with a rookie quarterback at the center of it all. And fans? They were not ready for what he said next. Because this isn't just about Shatter Sanders or even the Browns. This is about tearing down the entire NFL playbook on how franchises are supposed to function. If Harbaugh gets his way, we're talking about a full-blown power shift that could make head coaches the new kings of the league, or plunge Cleveland into another era of spectacular dysfunction.
If you're into the real story and all the messy twists they don't show on highlight reels, go ahead and subscribe. And if you're sticking around to see how this Browns QB chaos plays out, you should definitely be subscribed.
John Harbaugh didn't flinch. When asked about the possibility of joining the Cleveland Browns and molding the team in his image, he gave an answer that didn't leave room for confusion. He wanted control. Total control. Not just play calling or locker room leadership, but everything. Roster decisions, staff hires, long-term vision. If he was coming in, he wasn't going to be a cog in someone else's machine. He wanted to be the machine. And this wasn't some vague power play. Harbaugh's stance was detailed, direct, and built on his philosophy that success in the NFL comes when the coach, not the front office, owns the blueprint. He emphasized that he wouldn't even entertain the role unless the Browns handed him the reins completely, along with a paycheck reflecting that authority. A reported $20 million annually. That number wasn't just salary, it was insulation. Insulation from meddling, interference, or committee-style decision-making. But it wasn't just about the money. Harbaugh saw a project worth investing in. That project had a name: SHEDEUR Sanders. Young, raw, smart, composed. Harbaugh didn't see a finished product, he saw potential. A quarterback he could shape not just to run plays but to lead a franchise. SHEDEUR wasn't being hyped as the next dual-threat phenom or athletic freak. The buzz around him wasn't about flash, it was about poise. His interviews, his demeanor under pressure, his willingness to take accountability. These were the traits Harbaugh valued. Traits that aligned with a long-term vision, not a quick fix. Sanders was moldable, and that made him invaluable. In recent appearances, SHEDEUR Sanders has handled media scrutiny with unusual calm. He's been asked about his readiness, his development, his mindset, and he's answered with clarity. No cockiness. No panic. Just an acknowledgement that he has more to learn and a desire to be coached hard. That maturity didn't go unnoticed. Harbaugh's comments revealed how much he respected Sanders' mental toughness. Not just for enduring the spotlight but for embracing the pressure that comes with it. That kind of mindset, Harbaugh believes, can be the foundation for something bigger. A rebuild centered around discipline, accountability, and a unified voice, starting at quarterback. During one press conference, Sanders said it bluntly: "I don't run from expectations." That line stuck with people, not because it was flashy but because it was honest. That's the kind of player Harbaugh wants to bet on. Not someone who's already crowned, but someone who wants to earn it. For Harbaugh, SHEDEUR isn't just a quarterback. He's a symbol of what this next phase could be. Someone who can grow with a franchise, who won't fold under pressure, and who can evolve into the leader Cleveland's been chasing for years. Pairing that mindset with Harbaugh's hands-on development approach could be the foundation for something sustainable. But not everyone in Cleveland is on board with the vision. Andrew Berry, the Browns' current GM, has built his front office around data, collaboration, and analytics. It's a system that values shared decision-making and long-term metrics. Harbaugh's philosophy? The opposite. Gut instinct, experience, and centralized power. Berry's camp believes in structure. Committees. Checks and balances. Harbaugh believes in results. One vision. One voice. And if he walks into the building, Berry knows his influence might vanish overnight. There's real friction here, not personal but philosophical. Matches master collection. The Browns have lived through enough chaos to know what instability looks like. Quarterback carousels. Coach firings. Patchwork rebuilds. Every few years, a new strategy, a new identity, a new direction, only for it to collapse again. Harbaugh's pitch? A reset. Not a tweak. Not a pivot. A hard reset. His full control model promises to end the internal noise. No more passing blame. No more disconnect between sideline and front office. If it works, the Browns get consistency. If it fails, there's nowhere to hide. Accountability would start and end with him. What makes Harbaugh's approach so bold is that he's not chasing tradition. He's challenging it. The NFL has long been run through owners and GMs, with coaches working within that power structure. Harbaugh says that model is broken. That winning demands singular leadership, and that too many cooks dilute the process. He's not just looking to coach the team. He wants to architect the franchise. And he's putting his reputation on the line to do it. For someone with his resume, that kind of gamble is rare. But Harbaugh isn't bluffing. He's setting the terms. Take it or leave it. For Sanders, being the centerpiece of this potential overhaul brings pressure, but also opportunity. It's not every day a young quarterback gets paired with a coach who wants to build everything around him. No competition. No short leash. Just trust and expectation. If this plan moves forward, Sanders won't be judged by highlight reels or box scores. He'll be judged by growth, by leadership, by whether he can command a huddle and steady a franchise. Harbaugh won't tolerate shortcuts. He's looking for a quarterback who can evolve into more than a playmaker. He wants a culture setter. That's where the tension with Barry intensifies. Because this isn't just a personnel conversation, it's a control battle. If Harbaugh comes in with total authority, Barry's role shrinks dramatically. From decision-maker to bystander. From builder to executor, if he's even kept around. Barry's analytics-first approach has driven much of Cleveland's strategy over the past few seasons. But it hasn't produced lasting success. Harbaugh's camp sees that as proof the model isn't working. Barry's supporters see it as incomplete. If Harbaugh's plan gets greenlit, it may come with an ultimatum: clear the lane or step in. This is a pivotal moment for the Browns. A fork in the road. Stick with the current structure, committee decisions, collaborative leadership, or hand the keys to a proven coach with a radical blueprint. Both paths carry risk. One risks continued mediocrity. The other risks total collapse if it doesn't work. But the potential upside? It's massive. A franchise built with clarity. A locker room led by one voice. A quarterback developed with patience. And a culture based on responsibility, not excuses. That's the offer Harbaugh's putting on the table. High risk, high reward. Harbaugh's message to the Browns is clear. Let me run it or don't call. And that level of certainty, borderline defiance, has shaken the usual dynamic of NFL negotiations. Most coaches walk into interviews with a list of ideas. Harbaugh walked in with terms. He's not looking to be hired. He's looking to take over. There's no room in this plan for tug-of-war over player decisions or clashing strategies behind closed doors. Harbaugh believes that if you want accountability, you have to give authority. He's lived through enough dysfunction around the league to know what happens when power is split between too many voices. And if he takes this job, that split disappears. Sanders, for his part, isn't backing away from the challenge either. He's not campaigning for the Browns, but he knows what kind of situation he wants to walk into. Development. Trust. A clear system. And Harbaugh offers that in spades. It's not just about game plans, it's about being seen, being believed in, and being coached with purpose. That's the difference here. Most young quarterbacks are dropped into chaos. Sanders could be entering a system built with him at the center. That's a different kind of pressure, but also a rare kind of opportunity. One that could define his entire career. Still, the biggest variable isn't Harbaugh or Sanders, it's the Browns themselves. Ownership has to choose between two completely different philosophies. Andrew Berry represents the modern NFL trend. Analytics, measured planning, shared power. Harbaugh is the throwback to the singular football czar. Two ideologies, one franchise. They can't coexist. If ownership backs Harbaugh, Berry likely walks or is pushed. And that could create ripples across the organization. Staffers loyal to Berry. Scouts aligned with his vision. A front office that's been built around structure and process. All of that becomes vulnerable. In a recent sit-down, SHEDEUR Sanders was asked if he could handle being the face of a franchise in total transition. His answer was short: that's what I've always prepared for. And based on the interest Harbaugh has shown, it's clear he believes that. Sanders knows he's not walking into a winning machine. He's walking into a program that needs leadership, patience, and backbone. That's not an easy ask for any young quarterback. But if the alignment is real and the development plan is clear, Sanders might be stepping into the best situation he could ask for. Match his master collection. The Browns haven't had a long-term quarterback solution in decades. Every few years, another name, another promise, another failed experiment. What Harbaugh is offering isn't just a different name, it's a different approach. Build slow. Build smart. Build around the mind and the heart, not just the arm. It's an answer to decades of dysfunction. No more chasing lightning in a bottle. No more flipping coordinators every 18 months. A single voice. A single plan. And Sanders, if it all comes together, as the steady hand at the center. There's a reason the buzz around Sanders has grown even before draft season kicks off. He's not throwing out dramatic soundbites or promising the world. He's doing the opposite, staying grounded, staying realistic. And that's precisely why Harbaugh sees him as the right fit. He doesn't want flash. He wants fire, controlled, focused, long-burning. At a recent press conference, when asked about what kind of coach he works best with, Sanders didn't flinch. Someone who holds me accountable. That's Harbaugh's entire pitch in one sentence. He doesn't want to babysit a star, he wants to build a general. Harbaugh's approach isn't just about control for its own sake. It's about results. He's seen franchises get paralyzed by indecision and internal politics. His offer to Cleveland is meant to eliminate that completely. With him in charge, there's no need to wonder who's making the final call, because the answer is always him. But that kind of top-down leadership comes with pressure. There's no buffer, no fall guy, no backdoor excuse. If the plan fails, it fails on his name. And based on how directly he's spoken, he's clearly not afraid of that. He wants the success and the fallout to rest solely on his shoulders. That kind of direct authority flies in the face of how Andrew Berry has built his system. For Berry, collaboration isn't a buzzword, it's the operating system. He's relied on metrics, consensus, and long-term projections. His moves aren't based on gut instinct, they're calculated risk management. But Harbaugh doesn't believe football is built in spreadsheets. He trusts his eye, his staff, his locker room pulse. It's a system built on feel, not formulas. And that kind of shift isn't something you can just wedge into an existing structure. If Harbaugh steps in, Berry's model likely steps out. Sanders is caught in the middle, but not in a bad way. His future will likely be shaped by whichever direction the Browns choose. If Harbaugh gets full control, Sanders becomes the centerpiece. He gets the development, the focus, the protection from being micromanaged by a dozen voices. He becomes a quarterback in a system, not a player in a circus. That's not the norm in Cleveland. But it could be, if the commitment is real. And with Harbaugh pushing this hard, it's clear he doesn't want to waste time with half measures. Sanders would walk into a structure designed around his success, not a trial by fire. All of this points to one massive inflection point for the Browns. Years of trying to mix competing visions has led them here, stuck in neutral. Harbaugh's plan isn't subtle. It's radical. It's risky. But it's also the first truly unified proposal Cleveland has seen in a long time. Either they stick with the safe structure that hasn't produced results, or they gamble on Harbaugh's total vision. That includes trusting SHEDEUR Sanders as more than a prospect, as the foundation. It's a huge bet. But for a franchise drowning in history, it might be the only way out. Harbaugh's playbook isn't about schematics, it's about structure. He wants to take a broken team and rebuild it from the foundation up. That's why he's pushing for full authority, not because he wants a power trip, but because he believes fragmented leadership is what's kept Cleveland stuck in the mud for so long. It's not about ego. It's about efficiency. He's not interested in blending into the system. He wants to replace it. And with a quarterback like Sanders, who's just starting his NFL journey, Harbaugh believes it's the perfect time. The team is moldable. The leadership void is real. And the future is still unwritten. That's the window Harbaugh wants to step into and control. In interviews, Sanders continues to strike the same chord. He wants to be coached. He doesn't want the red carpet or shortcuts. He talks about earning respect the hard way. And that's why Harbaugh is so locked in on him. There's no sense of entitlement, no pre-made brand. Just a player ready to work and take the heat when things get messy. That matters in Cleveland. This isn't a market that handles diva energy or fake promises. Sanders' vibe is exactly what a tortured fan base wants. Calm, tough, no nonsense. And under Harbaugh, he'd get the structure to grow into that kind of leader without the constant fear of being replaced at the first sign of struggle. Meanwhile, Andrew Berry is watching this conversation unfold like a man reading a warning label. Every move Harbaugh makes signals that Berry's model is outdated in his eyes. And if ownership sides with Harbaugh, it's not just Berry's seat that heats up, it's his entire legacy in Cleveland that goes on trial. Berry has bet on consistency, analytics, calculated decisions. But results have been mixed. Harbaugh represents the total opposite. Instincts, emotion, control. One of them is going to lose this power struggle. And the decision won't just change the org chart, it'll define the next 5 years of Browns football. At a recent media availability, Sanders was asked what type of organization he wants to join. His response was measured but revealing. He said he's looking for a place that knows who they are and what they're trying to build. That sounds like a throwaway quote, until you realize it's exactly what Harbaugh is offering, and exactly what Cleveland has lacked. If the Browns can finally decide who they want to be, Sanders gives them a rare chance to build it from the ground up. He doesn't bring the baggage of previous eras. He doesn't carry the pressure of resurrecting a legacy. He's a blank slate with the right mindset. That's not just valuable. That's gold. 4 years, Browns fans have lived through cycles of false hope. Draft picks that didn't pan out. Coaches who promised culture change only to flame out. GMs who introduced new models, new slogans, and new plans, only to backtrack when the losses piled up. What Harbaugh is offering is a reset that actually resets. A coach who says, "Give me the responsibility and I'll own the results." A quarterback who says, "Don't crown me, coach me." Together, they represent something Cleveland hasn't seen in a generation, a plan with patience and purpose. Sanders knows what he's stepping into if this becomes reality. A franchise known more for dysfunction than dominance. A city that loves its team but doesn't trust it to get out of its own way. And a media ecosystem that chews up quarterbacks the minute they look rattled. But instead of dodging that, Sanders leans into it. His comments don't reflect someone afraid of expectations. They reflect someone who's been raised in the fire of high-pressure football and understands what it takes to survive it. That's what Harbaugh sees. Not just talent, but resilience. Harbaugh, too, isn't walking in with blind optimism. He knows the risks. He knows that if his control model fails, it could become another punchline in the long list of Browns' missteps. But that's what makes this move so compelling. He's not just demanding power, he's offering to be the one held accountable if it doesn't work. And for a franchise that spent years finger-pointing, that kind of offer is hard to ignore. No one else is stepping in with that kind of clarity. No one else is saying, "Let me take the fall if it doesn't pan out." Harbaugh wants the pressure. That's the point. Barry isn't the villain here. His system has logic. It's produced stability in a league that often lacks it. But stability without progress starts to feel like stagnation. And the more Harbaugh makes his case, the more Barry's model starts to look cautious. Maybe even too cautious for a team that needs to break out of old habits. There's a reason this has become a philosophical crossroads. It's not just about XS and OS. It's about identity. The Browns have been trying to patch their problems with temporary fixes. Harbaugh is saying, "Let's burn it down and rebuild it the right way." During a podcast appearance, Sanders was asked how he handles the noise, criticism, speculation, social media drama. He shrugged it off. That's background. What matters is the people in the building. Again, it's a simple answer, but it screams fit. Harbaugh wants players who tune out the chaos and lock in on the mission. The pairing starts to make even more sense when you hear Sanders speak. He doesn't overpromise. He doesn't sell himself. He talks like someone who knows how hard this will be, but wants to face it anyway. That's not the kind of player you build around for a season. That's the kind you build around for it. So here it is. The Browns stand at the edge of another decision. Stick with the model that's kept them steady but stuck, or leap into something bolder, riskier, but potentially transformative. Harbaugh and Sanders aren't just a coach and quarterback pairing. They represent a challenge to the status quo. This isn't about trying one more thing. This is about trying something entirely different. A top-down, no excuses, no shared blame system. It might implode. But if it works, it could redefine how NFL teams are built, and finally give Cleveland something it's been chasing for decades, a future worth believing in. Harbaugh's challenge to the Browns isn't subtle, it's a dare. A high-stakes ultimatum wrapped in confidence. Give me full control and I'll give you an identity. It's not the kind of offer front offices usually hear, especially not from a coach. But Harbaugh isn't trying to fit into the NFL mold, he's trying to break it. He's banking on one thing above all, belief. Belief that leadership doesn't come from balance sheets and title hierarchies, but from one clear voice. And he's betting that if you give that voice full authority, the team will follow. It's a gamble, but Harbaugh's entire career has been built on conviction. This is just his boldest move yet. For Sanders, the stakes are different, but just as real. If this move happens, he won't just be Cleveland's next quarterback. He'll be the test case for a franchise transformation. That's not just pressure, it's weight. The weight of a city's patience. The weight of a coach's legacy. And the weight of an organization betting it all on one system. But here's the thing, he hasn't blinked. Everything Sanders has said, every way he's handled the media, points to a player who isn't afraid of being the centerpiece. He's not asking for perfection, he's asking for a plan. And with Harbaugh, for better or worse, the plan is crystal clear. The Browns are staring at one of the boldest resets in modern NFL memory. And this time it's not just about talent or scheme, it's about choosing a side, a system, a future. If you've been watching this saga unfold and you've got strong thoughts, drop them in the comments. Is Harbaugh the hero Cleveland needs, or just another name in a long list of false starts? Like the video if you're all in on Sanders' potential, and make sure you're subscribed. Because if this deal goes through, it won't just shake up the Browns. It could shake up the entire league.